Hey guys, welcome to my first video. Actually my second, but my first really trying to make an effort edited kind of video. I've painted one of these guys, Red Hydra. Don't know how you pronounce it, did know how to paint it. I really love how I managed to make the spikes, the ridges, kind of muted and dirty, but I got the teeth to pop. The eyes are pretty cool too, kind of hard for you guys to see, but they're red. They're not that intense, but I didn't want them to be. I'm really happy with the result. So, let's get to this video. It's kind of my Easter gift to you. So, happy Easter, happy painting, happy monsters!
Hey guys! Watch me not lip sync at all. I'm doing another audio track on this video because the background noise is just bananas. It's podcast, TV, boyfriend playing. Anyhow, I'm painting this 3-piece mini. It's a Hydra. I looked up how to pronounce it. I've already base coated. As you can see, I used a dragon red and I had a white primer, and I also used a bone colored primer for the spikes. Well, the areas you can see are white so far. I'll speed things up a bit for you so you don't get bored. Here we go. Okay, let's get to it. I'm gonna be using two colors, heavy orange and dragon red. I've already used the dragon red for the basic coat, and I've used both of them on the front legs of the Hydra already. Now I'm gonna use them on the scales next to the spikes. If you ever make a mistake, just clean your brush, use the water on it to wipe away the paint you got where you didn't want it. Wipe off your brush, dry off the excess water now filled with the paint you didn't want, and then just keep painting. Simple as that. Okay, I don't want you to die of boredom, so let's do some Hydra facts. They're actually kind of cool creatures. If you look to the D&D Monster Manual, 5th edition, they are a huge monstrosity and they are unaligned. They're actually pretty strong, but not smart at all. Very low intelligence. I've seen them come in green, in red, and in purple. I choose to paint mine red, mostly because of Hercules. I think that Hydra is pretty cool. They have 5 heads mostly. I've seen them with 9, and on Wikipedia it actually says 9. And they're hard to surprise, because even though they're asleep, at least one head always stays awake and alert. So be watchful. They don't really have a lair or a den. They just walk around, eat everything they see. They are very hungry. You can read in the monster manual that they are gluttonous. They snatch and tear apart its prey in a frenzy of feeding. And they don't really mind the weather, so I guess that's why they don't need a lair. They eat everything they see, and they don't mind being outdoors. You can usually find them in ocean shallows and wetland bogs, so they don't mind the water. They do mind colder climates, and that's the only occasion where you find them in sheltered caverns or ruins, perhaps. I'm not sure this Red Hydra needs water though. Well, it needs water, but I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm rambling. Let's just watch me paint for a while. Okay, it goes on and on. Let's speed things up a lot more so we can get where we're going. Hold on tight. Okay, we're almost at the finish with coating the scales next to the ridges in the heavy orange color. It looks like this. There you go. Can't see that good, but now I'm going to wash it with this, the dragon red. So I'll just add water to it and then, well, yeah, paint over what I just painted. So once I get going, let's speed things up again, and let's throw in some facts in a while as well. Okay, here we go. You might notice that I'm not really being delicate with the color. Since I've watered it down, it's really easy to just slap on there. I'm also using it to fill in some holes in my base color, since I didn't do such a good job in the first place. I find it kind of boring to base paint large monsters. It just never ends. So, while we watch me just slap on paint, let's learn some more about the Hydra. Sorry, the Hydra. The monster manual tells us that at the dawn of time, Tiamat, the queen of evil dragons, maybe you've seen her, she also got a bunch of heads. She slew a rival dragon god named Lernia. You can read the name in the monster manual. I have no clue on how to pronounce that. Anyhow, Tiamat, Queen of Evil, slew this dragon god and cast her blood across the multiverse. The legend or story says that each drop that fell upon a world spawned a multi-headed Hydra, consumed by hunger as great as the fallen god's hatred. And considering the Hydra's hunger and probably fury, the god must have been a hateful one. As I've already pointed out, the Hydra has 5 heads, or 9 if you watch Wikipedia. and if you cut one off, it will grow 2 new ones. That sounds like a real pain in the ass. I'm not really the patient player when it comes to fighting. I mostly just want to do the social stuff, interact and develop my characters. Fighting a big, obnoxious monster that takes time usually gets me a bit bored. That's also why I like to DM, then I'm in control and I can spice things up if it feels like it gets boring. Well, other DMs can do that too while I'm the player, but yeah, easily bored. Anyhow, the only way for you not to fight 2 new heads is to burn the Hydra with fire. It doesn't have a weakness for it, but if it has taken fire damage on its last turn, it doesn't grow 2 new heads. But be wary, the Hydra regains 10 hit points for each head regrown. It's crazy, you're never gonna kill this thing. I definitely need to put this in one of my campaigns soon. Maybe for those obnoxious players that just think that they can kill anything I throw at them. Okay, so I've slopped on the paint on the top of it and on the bottom of it, just leaving the little ridges and the spikes still base coated or primed, whatever you want to call it. Next, I will get into some dry brushing, and that's to highlight the scales. I'm using the Brilliant Red, so it will pop a bit more. It's a nice contrast to the darker Dragon Red, and you'll be able to see the highlights of the scales really good. It will make them pop a bit more. You just add a double color to your palette. I have a wet palette if you're curious. You take your appropriate brush, you dip it in paint, you wipe off the paint on a piece of paper. You just want a tad of color on it, and then you brush your mini. It's as easy as that. If you got too much paint on, just wipe it off. And when you run out of paint, just dip it in again, wipe it off, and brush. And if you get too much paint on your mini, like I did, take a completely dry brush and then wipe it off. And then do the process all over again. Okay, let's watch me dry brush this monstrosity. If you're watching this closely, you can see me alternating between brushes, and here you can see me comparing an already dry brushed head with a non-dry brushed one. Anyhow, I keep alternating brushes to fit my needs. A smaller dry brush for smaller parts, but I also keep going back and fixing my base coat yet again, because I was sloppy the first time. I usually go back and forth, that's how it works. It's easier to spot mistakes as you go along. Okay, here comes the next part. When you paint a mini that's several pieces, don't forget to put them together to see the whole thing once in a while. You don't want the left side of it to look green and the other blue. Well, mine are red. So, what I'm doing is I'm looking at the base coat and fixing that. Remember, sloppy work before, then you have to fix it along the way. And hello, the boyfriend in the background. Usually you wait for the base coat to dry before you dry brush on top of it, but I'm a certain kind of lazy, so I don't always do that, and usually it works. If the base coat is too wet though, you'll just end up smudging your dry brush and you won't get those nice highlights that you want. But it worked this time, I got away with it. Well, doing the most uncomplicated thing while painting minis is actually usually a good idea. As I finish this, I'm soon going to start with some washes, or just one kind of wash, the Reichland Flesh Shade. Well, they probably intended it for flesh. I'm going to use it for my Hydra. Shake it up as with all colors. I'm going to use an old brush that I don't use that often. It's not really a good one, but it's perfect for washes because it just absorbs plenty of the fluid, paint, whatever you want to call it. And as you can see, I'm even more sloppy now than I were before. I don't mind the wash going on the spikes. I don't mind it flowing. I just want to basically dunk the whole thing in this Fleshland shade. Reichland Flesh Shade. So, as I bathe this Hydra, let's learn some more facts. So, what's the challenge rating, you ask? Yeah, I heard you ask. It's 8. And you'll gain 3,900 experience points if you kill it. It might not be worth it though, because it has the multi-attack thingy. For every head that it has, it attacks once. So let's say you chop off each head once and you don't use fire. That will make it 10 heads and 1 attack per head. 10 attacks! That's crazy. You're so gonna die. I have to try this out as a DM. My player's gonna hate me. Well, that's the goal, isn't it? No, the goal is to have fun. But being a little mean is kind of fun. Well, if you have a mean streak, this Hydra is the perfect monster, cause it also has a thing called reactive heads. So for each head the Hydra has, it gets an extra reaction that can be used only for opportunity attacks. So let's say you're standing there getting attacked 10 times by 10 heads and you try to get away. And it gets another 10 attacks. I would be so dead. Okay, I've leaned the pieces against one another to let them dry. I'm almost finished. washing this piece as well. I've not filmed the drying process for your sanity as well as mine. I make sure my jar is tight and closed, by the way, because those jars are tricky. And dry. Okay, so you can see that it has a lot more shades. It's a bit darker and it's got a bit more alive. I'm actually gonna dry brush it again with the same brilliant red as I did last time. The first time it just set a base and I was really thorough dry brushing almost every scale. This time I'm not gonna be as thorough. I'm gonna focus on the more prominent areas as the back, the shoulders, the necks, kinda to get a feeling of where the light hits. Later in the video I'm gonna do some dry brushing a third time when I put the whole piece together. But for now, here comes the second dry brush. Okay, I'm done dry brushing a third time. Sorry, second time. This is how it turned out. Now I'm going to move on to do the details on the heads. For that, I'm going to need a smaller brush. This is a new one, the detail brush. I can't read the text, probably, so can't you, but it's a smaller one anyhow. I'm going to paint the teeth, the tongue, and the eyes. I'm starting with the tongue. It's the same brilliant red as the dry brushing. The teeth are actually white linen, so it's not a super white one. It's a bit mellow. It will still pop a lot in contrast to the other colors I have. And the eye is also the brilliant red yet again. So I'm gonna start painting the teeth, and it's bleached linen, not white, as I said before. And yeah, it's gonna be a nice contrast, make the teeth pop and make them look sharp, since the spikes on its back is kind of muted and faded. These will look sharp. Okay, so I'm done painting the teeth, and now I'm starting to paint the topmost horn, the first one on their head, and also the horn that's on their chin. As you soon will see, I changed my mind. It doesn't look good because they get too prominent. Well, as I said earlier, you can always correct your mistakes. So, I grab a bigger brush, use loads of water, and just paint the paint off, if that makes sense. Just keep adding water and keep brushing until the newly coated paint washes away. So I'm doing the tongues, the teeth, and the eyes. And I know a lot of you guys struggle to get the eyes right. I used to, but I found a technique that works well, at least for just tabletop. If you want to enter a challenge, a competition, something like that, it might not be good enough, but it's definitely good enough for the table, and it's super easy. When I washed the piece with the flesh Reclin shade thingy, it turned the eye socket very dark. If it hadn't, I would have painted the eye socket black instead. However, this time the wash worked really well and I didn't find it necessary to do that. I choose to paint the eye white red, so not white but red, since it's a monster. And I just put a little dab of black in the eye red, the eye white, to make a pupil, completely ignoring making an iris. Since it's just for the tabletop and it's such a small thing to paint, even though it's a big creature, you don't need to paint the iris, it just makes it look messy. So, dark eye socket, make the eye whites white or red, what you prefer, and just a little dab of black as the pupil. But I will make a tutorial on this in the future, I promise. So, looking up the word Hydra at dictionary.com, it's classified as something from classical mythology, a water or marsh serpent with 9 heads. So, same as Wikipedia. And it also says that if the heads are cut off, they grew back as 2. Hercules killed this serpent by cauterizing the necks as he cut off the heads. So, let's hope Hercules had a bit more patience than I do. The word Hydra also means a persistent or many-sided problem that presents new obstacles as soon as one aspect is solved. Well, DMs kinda tend to do that with a lot of stuff. Like, yes, I finally solved this riddle, or I finally found this person, or I killed this evil bastard. But wait, there's more? I'm starting to like this Hydra more and more. Okay, next up I'm gonna paint the spikes. I'm gonna do some highlights with the colored desert sand. It's a bit muddier than the bleached linen, but it's still brighter than the bone colored primer that I used. I'm not putting too much effort into this highlighting actually. I'm just painting at the front of every spike a little bit, kind of sloppy, to get a feeling that the light hits it from the front, the above, kinda. It doesn't have to be very thorough, since it's a monster, since it's already kind of sloppy, and the spikes are muddy and miscolored. It will just look weird if it's straight lines, perfect highlights. So don't worry about how you paint, just slap it on there. I'm also using the dry brushing technique to highlight the spikes. This is to make them feel a bit more alive and not as flat. The big highlights are still done with just a slab of paint on the front of the spike, but the dry brush will help them feel more round, more spiky, or less flat, whatever spikes look like when they're 3D and not 2D. And as I said earlier, when you're painting a piece that's several pieces, fit them together once in a while to have a look. So, it looks good. You don't want the pieces to be different shades of color, for example. So, this turned out nice, I think. I'm actually ready to glue it together. And I cheated because I didn't film it. I hate this glue because it's a bit too effective. It even has a warning thing on the back. It always gets stuck to my fingers. It feels like a second layer of really, really dry skin. I'm sparing you the part where you have to wait for the glue to dry. So here it is, all dry, all stuck together. Now I'm just gonna touch up, since it's the first time it's all put together. I'm gonna do my third time dry brushing with a brilliant red, just to get more highlights. I like highlights, and dry brushing is such a simple way to just get it done. I'm doing mostly the back of the neck, the back of the back, the back of the tail, or the top of the tail. I think I'm more actually doing the top, because that's where the light is coming from in my head when I'm painting this. Alright, I'm rambling. Okay, it is finished. I started with the primer with bone color. Then I did a base color with the dragon red. I went on to painting some areas with this orange color. And then I repainted those areas with the dragon red again. I highlighted with a brilliant red as I dry brushed. I did the teeth with the bleached linen, the tongue and the eye with the brilliant red. I glued it with this awful, really good glue. And here is the result. And I forgot to tell you that I highlighted the spikes with the desert sand color as well. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I enjoyed making it. It's always fun to ramble about. Here is the Hydra's underside. I wonder if it's a male or a female. It doesn't show. And on that, I say goodbye.